Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, depending on where you are in the world. This is Azil's Gaming. I'm, of course, Azil, and this is your comprehensive guide to relics. Now, let's get some things out of the way first. This is going to be a full, long, and unedited video. It is going to be one upload because I don't exactly have any editing software. So if you're down for the long haul, fantastic. If not, I'm sorry, this probably isn't the video for you. That out of the way, let's discuss a few things. What are relics, how to farm them effectively and efficiently, how to maximize the traces, which I will explain later on, your optimal loadouts, namely your Smeeta Kavat and farming frames for long runs, locations of where they are, just pretty much everything to do with relics, really. It's not just a simple case of, oh look, I'm gonna pick a relic at random and radiant them. Don't work like that. Never has worked like that. If you work like that, you're not gonna get very far. You're gonna run out of relics. You're gonna not get the biggest chance of golds, etc. So we'll start with the basics for the new players. These are relics. Relics are a way of getting your primed goods, primed weapons, primed frames. It's also a good way of getting former. Each relic is labeled differently, as you can see. So you've got your B5s, you've got your B6s, your C2s. They're all over here. They all have different goods. Some are vaulted and some are unvaulted. Some are in current rotation. I will explain what those are later on as well. So relics are a way that you can gain the primed items I previously mentioned. Do apologise. And you obtain them through doing certain missions in the game. The game, of course, being Warframe. If you're here for anything other than Warframe, I'm sorry. You get them from different rotations. So the long missions have set rotation rewards, namely Rotation A, Rotation B, and Rotation C. Rotation A tends to be your first two lots of rewards, first two rounds. Your Rotation B tends to be your third round, and Rotation C tends to be your fourth round. They then reset and start again. So as long as you stay in, you will continually get Rotation A, B, and C. And in each relic, you have different rewards. They are stacked into 3 tiers. So your bronze rewards, your silver rewards, and your gold rewards. Over here, you'll see that you get a different bar, and that bar is your chance. It's the chance or likelihood of getting that item. So obviously bronze being your most common, silver being your rarer, and the gold being the rarest item to drop. You get this screen, the Void Relic Refinement, if I come out of it here. It is located here on your ship. Now, you get that. You get this little segment once you complete the junction. I think it's the Earth to Mars one, if I remember rightly. Come over here. Come out of the Void. Go to Earth. Go to the junction, and it will give you your rewards, your Incubator Core, your Void Relic segment. So you do this junction here, and you will get a Void Relic segment, which you then put into the area, into the Void Relic segment thing, and you will then be able to access your relics and upgrade them. Now, as you can see, they look a bit different. So you've got this one here with no lights, this one here with 1 light, this one here with 2, and this one here with 3. They are the different types of refinement that you can get, and refining your relic will essentially increase the chance of getting your gold or your silvers by decreasing the chance of getting the silvers or the golds and the bronze. So if you go exceptional, which is the cheapest and costs you 25 traces, traces are the resource that you get in game when you are cracking the relics, yeah? So if you look at exceptional, there is a little bit more of a chance to get the silver, not much of a chance to get the gold, and much more chance to get the bronze. If you go flawless, you see the chances of the bronze have decreased somewhat, the silver has greatly increased, and the gold has increased a little bit. And radiant, you've got the least amount of chance to get the bronze, quite a high chance of getting the silver, and a much larger chance of getting the gold. So generally what I do is I radiant everything. Everything that I do, I always radiant because I'm at the point in the game where I'm always after the gold. I find that it's better to go for gold and get something else that you may or may not want, as opposed to going for that specific silver and lessen the chances of getting the gold that you could use later on. That's just my personal way of finding it. You can do it however you want. You'll see that I've also got some flawless and exceptional. I've got those from long mission rewards, which I will go into later because of when you're doing your long missions. Sorry. So that is basically the relics, and you crack them open once you've refined them specifically by going to your navigational map over here, and you are looking for this symbol here. This is the Fisher mission symbol. Fishers are how you crack them open. I will probably do a mission if they've got a quick one on at some point, just to show you. But you have different mission types, and they are sorted between Lith, Meso, Neo, and Axii, which are your 4 different types. They're basically defined by level. So your Lith is your lowest level, your Meso is a bit higher after that, your Neo is again higher after that, and your Axii is the highest level possible. Doesn't always dictate that you're going to get the best rewards out of them, but because the Axii are generally the hardest to acquire because they require high level missions to farm, they tend to have rewards that are worth the most for the pure simple reason of how hard they are to acquire. During different generations of releases, they do move the rewards about, so you can get the same rewards that you could get from an Axii from, say, a Neo or a Meso, depending on where they move it. But generally speaking, Axii have the best rewards because they are the hardest to obtain and therefore are rarer. So you'll select one of these missions. You will, we'll do a sabotage. We'll do a Meso sabotage to show you, and I can explain as we go in. And basically the idea is that you have to do the mission, and whilst doing the mission you also have to get the reactant. And reactant drops from corrupted enemies, which will spawn in game. And when you do that, you will get a...
Is the system mainframe delivered?
Yeah.
Fishers, you need them to open a relic, but are you confident you can withstand their fury?
Yes. Yes, I am. I am very confident if I can get out of here.
Look out for reactant.
So, you go in, you do the mission. The Fisher you will see when you carry on. You see how the enemies are different in appearance? They are different in appearance because they have been corrupted. That's the whole point of it, because these are void relic segments.
They're dropping reactant. Use it to crack open a relic.
As the Lotus just says, you pick them up. Once you've got to 10, you have cracked open the relic. You will get a void trace amount. Traces are what you use to refine your relics. And once you have equipped that and got that sorted, you will then, at the end of the mission, get your reward. Very easy. Now I'm doing this solo because I'm trying to show you how it works. But it is often best to do it in a squad because you increase your reward pool. And a greater reward pool is always a good thing. Now I do tend to get lost on missions. So bear with me. Friendship door with no friends is always good.
Your target is this location's computer system.
So as you can see, I'm just going through doing the mission. Any
to destroy the reactor.
Any enemies we find, we will be killing.
Security. Watch out for enemy patrols. Okay.
And you've got a little counter in the middle of the top right. And in doing so, they drop the reactant. Just like that. Now, as you'll see, I'm not actually having to run over them. The reactant's coming to me. That's because I have my Smeater installed. And I've got a mod called Fetch. Forgetting the names of mods is never a good thing when trying to do a guide menu. But yeah, it's called Fetch. And what that does is it acts like vacuum. And it brings all the resources and loot in the game to you. Now, you also get a void relic bonus when you complete the collection of all the 10 relics, and it lasts for a set amount of time. You'll see it in the top right hand corner with a little flame symbol and a timer. What that timer signifies is how long that Void Relic boost lasts for. Now you can get a Void Relic boost on any of your equipment, so you can get it on your frame, you can get it on your primary or secondary gun, and you can get it on your melee. Now, what happens when you get it on your Warframe is your range is doubled, and so is your power strength. Your primary and secondary weapons get a damage boost and unlimited ammo for the duration of the buff. And your melee gets a range and a damage boost as well. So it can be incredibly fun and lead to some often hilarious circumstances when you get the Void buff. It tends to last the longest on... Normally you can just slide through them, but yeah, it tends to last the longer for duration for the higher level enemies. So if you're going on a lift, it lasts for around 20 seconds. Going on a Meso or a Neo, it tends to last for about a minute and 10. And if you go on a Axie, it lasts for like 2 minutes. It's amazing. So from that, I got a Former blueprint. If you go in with a squad of more than one person, you will get a reward screen. And you will be able to choose which relic you want to get out of, which reward you want to get out of the relic, because it shares through the squad. So if you play in a squad of 4, you get a much larger reward pool, which can lead to much better gains. It is one of the advantages of playing with random squads, but if you are playing with a coordinated squad, you can obviously go longer in survival missions and exterminate interceptions and stuff. So it comes with its bonuses. You also get void traces. Now you can farm those traces out, and you can do little things to increase the amount of traces you get. Traces obviously being the resource that you use to increase or refine a relic. Being that the number there has gone up because I got a certain amount. So as a base, your trace level is between 6 and 30. And that is just base, no boosters. If you get a resource booster, that actually doubles the amount of traces you can get. So it's anywhere between 12 and 60. What you can then do is you can equip your Smeeta Kavat, which is a very advisable thing to do. This is my Smeeta build right here. I've got 2 builds. I've got one for general use and one for my Anaros. There is a very good reason for that, because it works very well with my boost. Also, you've got your Link mods. And having link shields on an Anaros does not really work well, because what it basically does is it takes your shields of your Warframe and applies those to your cat, which means that your Kavat can survive longer. Now, the 2 mods you want to most assuredly have on are Fetch, which gives you 13.5 meter gather link, and Charm. Charm is the one that you really want. And if you can, then you also want Tech Enhance. So there's actually 3 mods. But these 2 are the main, and then this one's just a bonus, okay? Charm gives you a chance to, I think it's 9 bonuses. The one you want is the Affinity and Resource Booster. Now, it's the one that also lasts the longest amount of time. But what that does is that doubles everything again. Not only that, but it also stacks. And what that means is you can get an infinite amount of traces from 1 round of cracking, yeah? So if it procs once, it will double, and that goes on top of your normal booster. So again, it's maths, I'm sorry about that, but it's 6 and 30, 12 and 60. If you get 1 Smeeta Kavat buff, it goes to 24 and 120. If it buffs it again, then that goes to 48 and 240, and so on and so on and so on. Now, obviously, whilst there isn't a limiter to how many you can get, it stacks, but only until the first buff runs out. So, for example, if you get a second buff or a second proc, and you've only got 20 seconds left on your first one, you'll only have that double boost for the 20 seconds. And as you can see, every 27 seconds, the procs. So it is limited to some extent, but you can essentially get infinite amount of traces if it procs repeatedly. But it's a random chance, so it's down to luck. But having a Kavat greatly increases your farming potential of the traces, which means you can radiant more relics over less time. The more radiant relics you've got, the more gold you can get, and so on and so on and so on and so on. So it constantly breeds. Now, Tech Enhance, it increases the ability duration, which means your Charm, your Affinity, and Resource Booster generally only lasts for 120 seconds. With Tech Enhance installed, it lasts for 157 seconds. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot, but in a mission, it makes a huge amount of difference because you've got longer for that buff to last. You've also got longer for that buff to then double proc or triple proc, etc. Okay? The rest of the build is just there for survivability and damage because the Smear Kavats, as you can see, are very high on critical sense. So it's a build that is built to last. And obviously on my Anaros, because I'm very heavily melee focused on my Anaros, I have things like Medipet Kit and my Hunter Synergy, which gives me more critical chance link, as well as more damage. It's all about the damage, and I'm having a huge amount of health and shields. But obviously I'm not running an Anaros right now, so we go with general build. Other than that, the other way that you can maximize your potential with traces depends on what mission you do. So, for example, if you were to do a defense, which I find the best way of doing this, it also works quite well on deceptions. Not so much on things with time, such as mobile defenses, single missions, or survivals, is to wait until the very last second to collect your traces. If you're going to do this last minute technique, I would advise taking fetch off, because you can often kill or be around an enemy that dies that's within that 13 meters, and then it collects your reactant when you don't necessarily want to. When you're doing it on defense, the reason why it's the best is because there's actually a visual cue of when the round is ending, which means that you can essentially you can time it. So you can stand within range that you can get it. You get about 10 seconds when your numbers go grey at the end of the 5th round. If you wait until that time, then you've given your Kavat the most amount of time to proc, and whilst it's not guaranteed to give you that proc, it extends your chances. So it's trying to make the numbers work in your favour. It's trying to make the RNG work to your favour whilst not actually guaranteeing that you're going to get that buff. It takes a little bit of practice, and like I say, you do need to take fetch off to do that, but it can be quite profitable because you are giving yourself the most amount of time. Now, the other thing you need to learn or know is the locations at which each relic type drop. Now, like I said before, there is 4 different types of relics. You've got your Axii, your Neo, your Meso, and your Lith. Lith obviously being the lowest level. So Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars all drop Lith relics. Mars, Phobos, Ceres, Jupiter, and Europa all drop Meso relics. Also the Void. This strain here drops Lith. This strain here drops Meso and Neo. This strain here drops Meso and Neo. And this strain here drops Neo and Axii. Okay. Annie drops or Lith, Meso, and Neo. It's a bit of a weird one. And during unvaulting events where they take a primed frame out of the vault, out the drop table, or put it back into the drop table, the minute they're making it so every mission in the void drops relics. You can also farm relics from your Cetus and your Fortuna bounties, which are the open world maps. Then you've got your Jupiter, Europa, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, Lua, Eris, and Sedna. They all drop, and Kuva Fortress, they all drop Neo, and they all drop Axii. So there's a lot of overlap with that. The Derelict drop Lith and Meso. I don't think I've ever seen them drop Neo and Axii, but I don't generally tend to farm here, and it's been a long time since I have, so I can't confirm nor deny. But knowing roughly where your drop tables are really helps. I personally have 3 main missions that I farm myself, the relics, when I'm trying to farm, both solo and with a group. And then obviously when the unvaulting is happening, I tend to spend most of my time in the void. But the missions that I tend to go for are Mars for Lith, and I tend to go to Augustus, which is here. It's an excavation. It's very, very good for getting Lith relics. If I'm looking for Meso, I tend to go to Jupiter, and this node here called Io. It's a defense. Now, normally I would say stay as long as possible in defense, but where Io is concerned, because of how fast it is to get through the waves, I generally take a very high DPS frame, and I go for 10 waves, come out, go back in, do another 10 waves, come out. If I'm doing a Fisher, I'll stay for as long as possible and pick up Neo as well. But if I'm just farming relics, I will just go to Io. I'll do 10 waves and out, 10 waves and out, 10 waves and out. And then if I'm going to do Neo and Axie, I tend to go to one of 2 places. I tend to either go to Zinni, which is here. It's an interception on Eris, and I do that because every 3rd and 4th round, your rotation B and C are guaranteed Axie. So whilst it might not be as quick as maybe going to Pluton Hyricon, which is my other go-to place for relics, which gives me both Neo and Axie again, which is here. It's another excavation. It's infested, so it's very, very easy. When I'm soloing, it's still quick, it's efficient, and I know I'm going to get the Axie. I know how many Axie I'm going to get. It's got a very high drop chance for Neo as well. And I can solo this and do 4 rounds in anywhere between 15 and 18 minutes per run. So I do 4, I come out, I do 4, I come out, and it takes me roughly the same amount of time each time. Ironically enough, doing interceptions is actually slower with a squad because of how long it takes for you to actually capture the points. Once the points are captured, if you don't let them go down, the time is the exact same. But on solo, you save just that few milliseconds because you're capturing the points much faster. As for cracking, it doesn't really matter what mission you run. It really, really genuinely doesn't. The one thing that changes quite drastically is your excavations. And the reason why it changes quite drastically is because of the spawn rate and the drop rate of the reactant is much, much less than it probably should be. But what it means is you have to slow the mission down in order to do it most efficiently. It is still, if you get a squad of 4 that you know and trust and know what they're doing, easily the most efficient and most rewarding run that you can do as an excavation, because you can get through each excavator in around 1 minute 20 seconds, and if you can get all 10 reactant before you start the next one and so on and so forth, you can actually get through them quite quickly. Every 2 rounds drops a relic, and every 2 rounds also gives a normal reward, so you're getting through your rotation A, B and C quite fast, which means you're getting many, many relics in return. But if you're going in with a random squad or a squad that don't really know what they're doing, it can slow everything down because they do too many towers at the same time, or they don't collect enough reactant, and it can get quite messy quite quickly. As a result, I tend to look for interceptions. Now, as you can see, the missions are random. They all have a timer, and when that timer runs out, they will then do another mission. Another mission will turn up, and they'll rotate out that way, but it is very RNG based, so you don't actually know what missions you're going to get, which can sometimes be a bit of a pain in the arse, but on the whole, you generally get in something that's useful to you.
Time limited mission alert available. Check navigation.
Thank you, Lotus. So yeah, the mission I tend to do the most is interception. I do interception because even though it's not quite as quick as an excavation with a full squad, even if you don't have a squad that knows what it's doing, you can still go for a fairly long time with fairly few issues, and you still get a fairly, I'm saying fairly too much, you still get a fairly large return on relics and just general rewards in speaking. So interceptions are probably my favorite to run because of efficiency. My favorite for enjoyment, however, tend to be survivals. I like long endurance runs. I like doing long survival runs. Defenses can be fun, but they do tend to be a bit slow for my liking. If you can keep it down to about a minute per every wave, then you're generally okay, but after around round 25, it starts getting much, much harder to clear the waves, and you've got a set amount of enemies that you have to destroy, which can slow the missions quite down, and it can seem quite tedious. But again, if you get the right node, it's not too bad. If you get a short enough map, you can blast through the enemies quite quickly. After that, I would say the single missions for me are exterminate, captures. just because they are quick, they're easy, they are bam bam done out. Doing single missions like an exterminate or a capture have their plus sides as well as their downsides, just the same as doing endless runs have their plus sides as well as their downsides. Namely, with your short runs, the biggest downside is the fact that the amount of traces you can get becomes very, very limited. The reason why is because you don't get any extra bonuses that you would do through doing an extended run. For example, you generally only going to get the one Kavat buff if you're lucky, and you're only going to get that one chance to do it. Once you've done the mission, it's done. Whereas in an endless, not only have you got more rounds to get more traces, but you're also getting relics back, whereas most single missions, except for the Void, don't come with relics. So if you do an exterminate, that relic is gone. You're not going to get one back in its place unless you go out and farm separately. The other thing is, the longer you stay in a mission on Endless, you get more bonuses. Not only that, you actually get extra relics on top of those bonuses the longer you stay. And those relics are ready to use straight away, whereas normally if you do an extended run, you've got to wait until you come out before you can do anything with the relics you've farmed out. And they are all upgraded. What I mean is, each round you stay, so in a defense, every five waves is 1 round. In an interception, every round is a round. Every survival, every 5 minutes is a round. You get a bonus. It starts at 25%, and it goes affinity, credit, resource booster, and resource drop chance booster. No, resource drop chance booster, and then resource booster. Then you get your 5th, which is your relic reward. Then it goes to 50%, then 75%, then 100, and then 125, 150, and it just keeps going like that. What that means is the amount of traces you can get is actually really, really good, and it stacks. So you've got it's where maths comes into play quite a lot, and if you want to sit there and work it out, be my guest. But basically, you've got your normal resource booster, then you get your 25% resource booster for that round, then on top of that you get your Kavat buff. On the next round it's your normal resource booster, then the 50% booster, then the Smear Kavat buff on top of that. So it can build quite exponentially. The most I've ever got from one 5-round run, was 466 traces, which is an insane amount of traces to get for 1 round. It's insane, but it's awesome and cool, and it's a great way of farming out, as well as you're getting loads of other resources. You get more money the longer you stay. Your credits are all doubled. Everything is doubled when your Kavats go in. So it becomes fun, it becomes challenging, and you get very, very great rewards as a result. The other way you can get relics is actually to go to syndicates. Now, I wouldn't advise doing it this way unless you are, unless you've already got everything that the syndicates can offer you. And what you get here is you get a relic pack.
Just for you.
Thank you. These are your relic packs. Now, they cost 20,000 standing. At Master Rank 26, which is what I am, you can earn 27,000 standing a day. So that means you can get at least 1 relic from 1 syndicate a day. Each relic pack comes with 3 relics in them. They are completely random, and you don't know what you're going to get, but relics is good. It's a good little way of just bolstering your stash. Now, what a lot of people do with this is they'll save, when they know a new prime frame or something is coming out, what they'll do is they'll save up all of their standing, and then when the new relics come out, they'll buy a load of relics straight away for all of the standing. I personally don't do that because I buy relics daily from my syndicates. And yeah, that's basically how to maximize what you can get from your relics. Now, the other thing you need to remember when you're doing long runs is what frame to run. Obviously, you can see right here I am Necros. I'm Necros because when you're running survival, his Desecrate allows you to get more air support. I run a despoil build, but there is nothing wrong with running an energy build either, as long as you build it correctly so at the max efficiency so it doesn't use a lot. But the idea is to keep it running as long as possible, which gives you more air support. That means you can run much longer runs, much longer survivals without having to do as much. Hydroid is another very desirable flame when you're running your long runs. just because of everything you can get done. So yeah, I mean, I know I haven't really played many missions whilst through this video, but I hope that gives you a good understanding of everything that you could possibly use and need. Feel free to leave comments below of anything that I may have missed. If this gets well received, then I might look into making a more detailed part section going into each kind of relic system. And I know that I've just basically been talking whilst my frame's not really been moving, but I hope that the information has helped you. Random, but okay. I'm going to leave that in there because I'm not editing it out because I don't have any editing software. But yeah, so that is my relics. That is how you can effectively farm. That is hopefully going to give you some information that you can take and use. And I hope that the void treats you well. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and I shall see you all next time. Ciao, ciao.